Go live. Concurrent viewers 1, that's probably us. And we are live here at Cosmic Comics. Now that you've gotten to listen to some of the background information, and I'm hitting all the wrong buttons because we are learning how to use OBS. And it's a learning curve. It's not too difficult, but it is something to learn with. I am RJ Carter, senior editor with CriticalBlast.com, and with me I have Dave Dyer, senior manager of Cosmic Comics.
Yeah.
How you doing today, Dave?
All right. How about you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing all right. It's been a busy month.
Yeah.
A lot of good stuff coming out in comics. A lot of interesting things coming out in comics news. One thing I wanted to hit on sometime today, and we can just bring it right up now. Bring up the comment. Dan Didio at SDCC.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about these facsimile editions where we reprint older issues of comics, including all the old ads and stuff. And in some cases, these are selling more than the new comics with these characters.
Correct.
People are more interested in buying the stories from 30 or 40 years ago than the contemporary stories, and that's a failure on us. Now, I read that and say that Dan Didio's realizing, hey, we're screwing up the new books. We should be doing something like the old style. But when he goes on and says we should be focused on moving things forward, always pushing the boundaries and finding new stories to tell, that's how we'll survive and grow this industry. Now it seems like he's putting it on us.
Well, I think what the problem that they're having, and I noticed this from our customers who come in here. In fact, I just sold the facsimile issue of the Incredible Hulk. What was it, 193 with Wolverine?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's both. We always make the joke that, I don't know about you, but I know I'm never going to own an issue of the original 193.
I did.
So see, and I did too at one time, but today I can't afford it. So people are buying those facsimile issues so that they can have that storyline because it's a classic storyline. So that's one reason why the facsimile issues are doing so well. Now, I don't know about if I agree with his comment about that's on them. The problem with storylines today is they're getting stretched out.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you doing with that? What can you breathe new into a character that's 45 years old, right? So, we enjoyed those old storylines, but there's some new, fresh stuff going on today. There's some good storylines out there, and then there's some really junk ones out there too.
I think some of it, they just drag it on and on. I know everybody hits on poor Tom King for Batman, but seriously, a 100-issue story arc is just
It's just absurd.
Yeah. 4-issue story arcs. 12 was
12 is pushing it. When you're doing like these 12-issue miniseries, I'm like, oh man, just knock it to 5 or 6. Yeah. And even then, you're really stretching it.
Yeah. If you got a 12-issue miniseries, something better be changing the universe.
Yeah.
It better be Crisis on Infinite Earths or Secret Wars.
Exactly. So, yeah. I mean, and also the True Believers series, which is the Dollar Comics.
Yeah.
Those are reprints of all old storylines, and those sell really, really well. Those actually outsell the facsimile issues. So,
I don't know what the price point is on the facsimile issues.
They're usually $4.99.
Okay, well, and the True Believers are like a buck.
$1.
So they're following in the Alterna stream of events where $1.50 for a comic book. Anybody's going to try $1.50 for a comic book.
Exactly.
It may be a genre you don't even read, but I'm like Feast or Famine. No idea what that's about, but it's $1.50, and I'm buying comics. So I'm going to drop it and see what I can do.
Yeah.
So I got to review some comics this week, and some of them have been published, and some of them are going to be coming out soon enough here. We'll start with the stuff that's going to be in stores this week. And we are in the store in the back room, and Dave has to watch out for customers.
I have to watch customers that come in. So
because
I may get up and walk out, and then I'll come back.
They need attending to. One of the things coming out this Wednesday is from Dynamite, and that is The Death-Defying Devil.
We'll have that here at the shop.
Look at that. We'll just slide that right over here so we can still see Dave. Now, one of the things that I liked about this was it's written by Gail Simone.
Mm-hmm.
Gail Simone's got a pedigree of writing where she's been very good.
Mm-hmm.
With Domino, she has not, in my opinion.
Domino didn't sell well.
Okay, so coming from the comic shop guy, not selling means not.
Means
good.
I'm not going to carry it anymore.
Okay, well, you can't carry it anymore. They canceled it again. So
it's
nice
done.
they canceled it twice.
Even when Domino was playing, I only brought in the first, I think, 3 or 4 issues. No one was buying it. I stopped. Then I tried the Hot Shots series. Nobody bought that. I stopped carrying it. So, yeah.
Well, Death Defying Devil hopefully is a resurgence from there, maybe because it's one of these lesser-known characters that you can do anything with.
Yeah.
For instance, last time I saw the Death Defying Devil, and it's hard not to say Daredevil because that is the character's name, but because Marvel has a Daredevil now, we have to call him something different.
Right.
Even though he's public
independent by Dynamite. So, yeah.
But the last time I saw him was in one of those Project Superpowers things where he was Spectre-like levels of power. He was as tall as a skyscraper, striding the streets, and had a cosmic level of ability that was presenting a threat to everybody there. In this one, he's Matt Murdock again.
Yeah.
And he's down in the streets. His mask is ripped off. He gets beaten up by another street-level gangster. And he's being cared for by this halfway house of tenants who are a very motley crew. I mean, there's one lady who's an old actress. There's a couple who are just starting out. There are 2 sisters, one of whom's normal and one of whom's not. That's the best I can put it. And they're all caring for him. There's a gentleman there who's a war veteran. He's got his hands cut off, so we definitely see he's got a stump. And apparently he lost half his mustache in the war, too, because every time you see him, he's only growing a mustache this far out.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Could be burned. I don't know.
It doesn't look burned, though. It could be. And they don't mention it. It's just there.
It's one of those weird things.
You should try that look. See how it comes
right.
out. It definitely makes people look at you when you're talking to them. But it's one of those things where somebody's controlling the cops, somebody's controlling the streets, and we're just going to...
Real quick. Hold on. Go right back.
Right ahead. This is life in a comic shop, guys. This is live.
I used to work in a store.
So we don't know quite who the bad guy is yet. We just know that he can control the police, who speak with, they're kind of cringy when they're dealing with the young lady in the house because she is Hispanic, and he calls her very mean immigrant names. He calls her an immigrant like that's going to be an insult. So it gets kind of cringy in that area. But again, they're bad guys. They're allowed to speak in bad guy ways. I definitely
lingo.
Exactly. Walter Giuliani's doing the artwork on this one, and it's really good stuff.
Yeah. Covers are awesome.
This is Gail Simone in her finest.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm excited about it. It comes out Wednesday, right? Yeah.
It does come out on a Wednesday. Not to borrow a title from another one. Also coming out this Wednesday, Red Sonja not yet. Meet Betty and Veronica, and this is the 3rd issue.
3rd issue.
This is how long is this going? Because this can't be 4. It's got to be 6.
Yeah. Well, it started. Let's see here, 3rd issue. So it started about a month ago, maybe 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
A month ago. Yeah. So and all of the Archie titles under the new Archie horror moniker flag, we'll say. So those are doing pretty well. You got Blossom 666. You've got Red Sonja Vampirella meets Betty and Veronica. You've got
Vampironica.
Vampironica, and then you got Jughead.
The Hunger.
The Hunger. Yeah.
And I think the one that's coming out now is Vampironica versus Jughead. The Hunger.
Yeah.
So
all those they're really wild. They're much more on a mature teen plus audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Archie, if you're listening, I want my last chapter of Afterlife with Archie. You kept me hanging for 3 years now. Betty R.I.P. has to be finished. You can't do that to us.
And then they just did the Archie versus Predator 2.
Yeah.
Just started up.
And 15 years ago, if we'd have seen Archie versus Predator, we'd have laughed at the idea.
Mm-hmm.
We did laugh when we saw Archie meets the Punisher.
Yeah.
And now it's Archie has become converted into this new edgy kind of thing. I mean, if you watch Riverdale,
Yeah.
Have you seen Riverdale?
Mm-hmm. Bits and pieces of it, yeah.
Bits and pieces. We're talking now. I'm not. I'm addicted. I'll watch it. I mean, there's serial killers running around. There are cults happening.
Mm-hmm.
The farm was the weirdest twist at the end that did not see coming. But at the same time, I'm not really cool with seeing Archie and Veronica do drugs at a party, and have to fight off date rapists for the sake of Cheryl Blossom's honor.
And I agree because it's taken the I agree with you partially. It takes the innocence out of they're taking the innocence out of Archie, but Archie has always been one of those things where it's never been a big seller. Now they're selling more than they've ever sold.
And I'm all for taking the innocence out of Archie. I'm not for them taking the innocence out of Archie Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
Making him, that whole first season there where he's wanting to be a capo in the in Lodge's mob. Archie should always be the good guy, the pure heart, the powerful hero who wants to stand up that kind of stuff, not join it because it looks cool. But Red Sonja and Vampirella meet Betty and Veronica, which is how we got all started on this. They're world hopping again, and Red Sonja and Vampirella are. I think I said Vampironica earlier. That's one of the problems with this book when I'm reading it is I can't tell those two characters apart.
Right.
Because Veronica just looks like a brunette now. She doesn't look like
and Vampironica. I get mixed up with Vampirella. They look pretty damn close.
They really do.
Yeah.
They just wear different outfits.
Yeah.
But the Darling of Draculon is locked up here, as you can see on this cover, which alludes to, this issue ends. They're looking for a serial killer again, and it's somebody who leaves a lot of blood laying about, and, she's a vampire. She's getting hungry. So something happens that's going to land her in jail, which is going to leave Betty, Veronica, and Red Sonja to find a way to get her out of it. Now, through all this, we've still got the mystery of why all four of those characters are showing up in a 1970s yearbook, and we're no closer to finding out what the answers are to that. But Betty is starting to get very metaphysical on the whole thing, wondering about, what if this is all a fiction and we're just in some story? I'm like, well, okay, just shove it in our face early on, because yes, you are.
Right.
So that's also going to be in stores this Wednesday. Things that won't be in stores this Wednesday, but which got reviewed anyway, are things that you're going to find on your crowdfunding scene. And one of the ones I looked at was Brand #1. Now, this is from Antonio Bryce and Kanan White. And if you haven't seen the previews on this, it really is. It looks great.
Looks cool.
The artwork, as you can tell just by the cover there, is very intense. Kanan White is a very talented artist. Every scene in the book, even ones where they're trying to draw people from life. And I always hate it in comics when they try to draw people from life, because you can tell. These are the regular comic book characters, and this one's drawn from life. He's got way too much detail in him to try to make him look like the character you're making him out to, even if they caricaturize him. But this was solid all the way through artistically. Story-wise, there's things going on. Now, what I read, and I'll clarify, I only read the first 21 pages. It's a 44-page book. But I will defend myself in saying that 21 pages is a full comic book story. If you don't know what's going on 21 pages, even into a 44-page book, something's going on there. And that's where I did ding this was on the plot, because it jumps around a lot, and I'm still not quite sure who's doing what and what the actual threat is 21 pages in. I do know it starts off with a young runaway girl who is starting to pick pockets when she arrives in town, and she is rescued from the police by Huggy Bear. The guy's all pimped out, gold tooth and everything.
That's cool.
And he's obviously going to Fagin and Oliver Twist her into a lifestyle of his choosing. And then there's a huge crime boss who is also doing television interviews for his business, because he's got some sort of technology that's going to help find runaways. And immediately thinking, oh, well, there's your connection. It's the girls run away. He's helping find runaways. That's how they're going to come together. And then finally, you've got this kind of an overweight beekeeper who's the hero of the story. And he's got this liquid metal thing floating around with him that can turn into a car. Reminds me of that old YouTube video have you seen of the if the Watchmen were a 1980s cartoon?
Yeah.
Thought can give you cancer and can turn into a car. Turns into a car and then goes back up to being a floating mask and then can zap the beekeeper with power rays that, he says this is his favorite part because this weight is a shackle, and he basically Shazams himself into a super fit guy. To which I'm thinking, why would he ever switch back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once Billy Batson turns 27, why in the hell would he ever say Shazam again? He's just going to stay that way the whole time.
That's a really good question.
Yeah, why would he? Even as a kid, why would he?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a huge tangent on that one. The story started in Justice Society because Captain Marvel was on the Justice Society under, I want to say it was Jeff Johns' run. And because he was 14, he had a thing for Stargirl, who was 14.
Okay.
And Billy Batson and Stargirl knew he was Billy Batson. She knew he was, his alter ego. But the wisdom of Solomon told him not to tell everybody else. So he was just Captain Marvel. Well, as Captain Marvel, he's still kind of doting on her, pulling the chair out for her and everything. And Jay Garrick pulls him aside and says, "Hey, this is not cool." And he's like, really, this is. I can't tell you why. He's like, we don't do this.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to follow that story on through.
That's kind of cool.
Because he is still a 14-year-old kid. He's just in this shell.
Totally.
But again, if I were this character in Brand, I would never give it the message.
Talking. Yep. You're doing fine.
Very cool. Yes, we have customers. It is a good thing in a comic shop to have customers. It's a good thing if you're crowdfunding to have customers. And Brand has been doing very well in the crowdfunding efforts. So we are glad to see that. Even the nitpicks that I've given it for the plot that I couldn't follow, I still rated it 3.5 out of 5 stars. And, based off of 21 pages, that's not, bad. That's a B minus. So, take what you can with that and enjoy it. So I'm going to bring that off of the series now. Bring it off the screen. Where are you at? There you are. Like I said, still learning how to use this tool. We're doing all right. We'll take a break here from the comics for a minute and move into the DVD world. Last night we sat down and we watched Detective Pikachu. Now this is, I guess the full title is Pokemon Detective Pikachu. And this is definitely suitable for an 11-year-old. It's half real world, half, it's all real world, but the Pokemon still continue to look like they're cartoonish figures, especially that mime one there was kind of freaky. But the plot here is, it seems to be a murder mystery.
Knows all about the movie.
Okay, well, we do have somebody who has seen this.
Sit down. Join us.
We are live. So we're talking. Yeah, we're live right now, man. We're talking about Detective Pikachu. Now, you watched this last night, right?
Yes.
What'd you think about it?
It was great.
Can we get your head up here? You see, that's what people see of you. Okay, cool. So what did you like about it?
I don't know.
You don't know, but you watched it all the way through, right?
Yes.
Which for a movie, for you, that's pretty good, because if you don't like something, you leave it, right?
Yeah.
Now, what was unique about Pikachu in this film?
I don't really know.
He could talk, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and they're trying to solve a murder mystery. The detective was killed, his former partner. And who do they think did it?
Mewtwo.
Mewtwo. They think Mewtwo did it. It's kind of an overcomplicated plot, I guess. But it was fun for fans of Pokemon. If you're a Pokemon fan, this is basically the live action version of a cartoon. It has all the seriousness that you would expect from a Pokemon cartoon, which would be to say none at all. There are Pokemon trainers, and our hero in this one, played by Justice Smith. He's never had a Pokemon. He was going to be a Pokemon trainer, but things happened with his parents that he decided he took a different turn in life, a very unhappy one. But as he bonds with Pikachu, who is voiced by Ryan Reynolds, and is, if you're worried about getting any Deadpool in this, no. There's a little bit, but nothing that would be unsuitable for children. It's a fun movie. It's not an Oscar winner. It's not going to win any prizes, but it is something that you can sit down with and enjoy some popcorn and a couple of Cokes, and it's okay. We'll have a review up on this one later this week. The effects were nice. The story was, telegraphed. You could see the ending coming from an hour and a half away. So that was the first one we watched. You can go.
Okay.
We may keep our audience captive. We don't keep our participants captive. Let's see what we're doing here. How are we doing? All right, the other one that we have not yet had a chance to review, and I absolutely cannot wait to get into it, is Batman Hush. Now, this is the adaptation of the storyline that, by and large, was just a way to introduce Jim Lee to the DC Universe, if we're being honest. The overall storyline being that Bruce Wayne has a friend from his childhood that comes back into his life, and gosh, he looks a lot like Bruce Wayne. It was so hard to tell them apart. And all of a sudden, at the same time, there's this guy who's wearing bandages around his face to disguise his features all the time, and he calls himself Hush. And whatever plot is set in motion, it involves every single inmate at Arkham Asylum, who each get their own chapter. Killer artwork, again, story, one that I can't quite remember what was going on with it, but I can't wait to see the animation that they do with this. DC has been getting better at getting their animated characters to look a lot more like they were in the book, so we're going to see how close this cover comes to being what's internal. And we're back with the comic book guy.
Sorry about that.
So we're going to talk about more comic books. No, you got to make the cash register ring, man. That's what you do. The last comic book that I was looking at as a crowdfunding effort, and this is one I just, again, a preview, and I reviewed it last night. We're looking at Monster MD from Von Klaus and McCagney. It's a very cool cover, and it's a very cool concept. Monster MD, he's a doctor to monsters.
Okay.
So when we meet him, he's helping a guy who's getting ready to turn into a werewolf who has a belly full of silver.
Okay. That's cool.
So this is his assistant here in the middle. That's Heidi Hyde.
Okay.
And she is, yes, an invisible woman. And cool. Anything that anything that processes into her becomes invisible too. So you don't see the food she's eating, and anything that she.
Right.
I don't know where she keeps her sunglasses. I've asked Von Klaus about that because they just kind of appear sometimes.
And this is crowdfunding, you said?
This is crowdfunded, and this has successfully crowdfunded, just like Brand.
Okay, good.
So this is coming out. Again, I saw the first 21 pages on this one, and we get to see him help at least 2 different monsters in this, and he's trying to quit the business. He doesn't want to do this anymore because it's dangerous. He's working with an undead arm, for one thing. Which is helpful because when you get bit by a werewolf, you don't get the lycanthropy virus transmitted to you that way.
Okay, interesting.
It's dark and funny at the same time, and it's very, very, very active action, and a lot of it's over the top. I mean, launching a harpoon syringe from a van into a giant golem, because that's what you got to do, and then what you inject, I won't say, but it's something that helps break down clay, so that plants can grow in it. And if the golem's made out of clay and you want to disintegrate it, you'll put into it what you would put into clay in the ground if you wanted to fertilize it. Do
they have an expected ship date on this yet?
You know what? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I know that if Von Klaus is looking here, he would probably tell us in the comments, but he's not looking at it apparently. That is too bad for us. I did get to interview him, and he's on one of our past live streams. So if you're watching, just go back into our history, and you'll be able to find our interview with him. But this one has successfully crowdfunded, and it will be coming out very soon. Obviously, the first 21 pages are done and colored. I just brought those up and reviewed them. So we're just waiting for the last 23 pages, plus whatever other goodies they decide to throw into it. Now this is what happens when you don't know how to use your OBS yet. You start getting things pop up that you don't want to pop up. So we're going to take all our fun comic books down. There we go. We are back online here. So, Dave, you brought in some comics here that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, because
pump up. What do you got?
Okay, so first off, we've got the House of X. So this is the new series. So this is the House of X, and turn it the right way. Boom, and then there is Power of X. All right, so this is in the new X-Men saga. It's doing really well right now. They're attempting to clean up the X-Men now, and
It's
so
needed.
it definitely needed. And I just read an article where they were saying that one of the issues that X-Men has had in the past, of course, is the fact that Fox owned it, with Fox doing the films and pretty much running that into the ground, that Marvel had pretty much given up on that vehicle along with Fantastic Four. So the stories were very good. They did a lot of goofy stuff with the characters, pissed off a lot of the long-running X-Men fans.
Yeah.
So this is now that Marvel has it back and Disney has it now. This is an attempt to change and clean up everything. So what they are is Professor X is on an island called Krakoa.
Okay.
It's a sentient mutant island. Okay, it means the island itself is alive. So, and all the X-Men and people with the mutant powers all reside on this island. They're the only ones who can come on. Humans aren't allowed on there unless they're hosted by a mutant.
Okay, it sounds a lot like Genosha.
Yeah. So, and in this storyline, it's a mini series. It's 6 issues, I believe. So hopefully they're going to right the wrong. We're back to having the Omega mutants, which they had written that out. So of course Metallo, Storm,
Right.
those kind are super mutants, so to speak. The Omega mutants. So they brought those back in, and then Xavier has created some vaccines to help the human race. And one of them is to help solve the problem with any kind of mental issues that they might have, mental illnesses and stuff.
Well, that won't go wrong.
So yeah, so see what we're going to see what's going on. So, but really hot right now. I'm interested in seeing where it's going to go, and will they actually be able to clean it up and
Now,
get it back on track.
I've heard that actually pronounced House of 10. And of
Okay.
course, X is the
Yeah.
Roman numeral for 10.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is there any?
I you know what, the articles I've read, no one's brought that up. So you're the first one I've heard say that. So you might know something more than I do on this.
Maybe it's a hint that they're going to bring it down from 800,000 mutants to 10.
I don't know. That would
Easier to
be
get a
pretty
handle on.
strange. So, so that's really hot. Also, people, if you're out there at your local comic book store, I didn't bring it in to show it, but there is, and I really like it because the artwork is outstanding. It is Frankenstein starring Donald Duck, and it's done in a digest sort of formula.
Okay.
Small trade paperback graphic novel. Some of the most insane artwork I have ever seen for a Walt Disney character.
Frank, and is this not? It's got to be a comedy adaptation.
It's a comedy adaptation of Frankenstein, correct?
Okay.
And so Donald Duck is Dr. Frankenstein. So highly recommend it. It's
Because it would have been
amazing.
really weird if it was like a straight translation and they just had the Disney characters playing the roles.
Yeah.
I've always said I would love to actually see Archie Comics put out Riverdale,
Mm-hmm.
follow the scripts exactly, but draw them in the Dan DeCarlo style, and
Yeah.
the Dan Parent style.
Yeah.
So,
Highly, they've done a series of, like, they did Treasure Island and that kind of thing, but I really like the Frankenstein one. So go to your local comic book store, pick that one up for the kids. It's kid and teen, and it's adult friendly. It's Donald Duck.
and of course, if you can't find it at your local comic book
You go to
store,
ours.
in our little Chiron that's been scrolling up here, you've been seeing the address for Cosmic Comics here in Belleville, Illinois, as well as their phone number, as well
can
as
mail
their
it to you.
Facebook.
Yeah, we
So-
can mail it to you. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Cosmic Comics Belleville, and we can always mail you stuff. So yeah,
Very cool.
very good.
couple of last things we want to talk about here. Critical Blast Publishing is still distributing their anthology, Gods and Services, which you can find on Amazon. We definitely appreciate what you can get out there and help support us. And then later this fall, we are debuting our first published novel from Stephen J. Mitchell, which is Bulletproof. Now, if you are looking for a young adult novel about a superhero, well, he's a subpar hero. And he's a teenager, and he's just discovered that he is invulnerable. And that's his only power. He can't be hurt. But he also has undiagnosed ADHD. So the way Stephen has described it is that Cody, the main character, is just going through life, picking up the Reese's Pieces on the trail. And if he picks up a Skittles, it's, a fruity one, and continues on his path. So he gets distracted easily, but the reason why he's bulletproof is the reason why so many people are suddenly after him. And he's got it coming from all sides. So we are putting the finishing touches on that one. We will have cover art out soon, and it will be released in hardcover for 6 months, and then we will move into a trade paperback print on that one. This is not a graphic novel. This is a novel, so just to be clear on that one. And we're definitely looking forward to putting the push on that one. Dave, I've also seen a lot of people online talking about this comic book that you gave me to read, White Widow. So apparently that seems to be something that's coming out of indie that's going to be pretty hot.
Yeah, it started out as a crowdfunding comic book. They're having the company's having problems with publishing issues. So we never know when the next issue is going to ever show up.
So they've only done 2.
They've only done 2. Yeah, they've only done 2. Sold out, both issue 1 and issue 2.
The art is really good. The whole idea of the character not understanding why it's happening to her or how it's happening to her reminds me a lot of Fairchild's character from Gen 13 when it was first coming out. So it's got that very kind of 90s feel to it, both in artwork and storytelling. So
it's great if you can get your hands on a copy. The covers are amazing because they've got prism type stuff in there.
Yeah, you got that silver foil in there.
Yeah, prism foil. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So if you want to get some of the really good 90s comic books today, see if you can get your hands on a copy.
Grab it, because I don't know what's going to happen with this company. None of us know what's going to happen with this company. They were supposed to have a slew of titles coming out, and they've all been pushed back to whenever, we don't know.
Well, that's part of the problem of starting up a new company and winging it, which is a lot of what the crowdfunding people are doing. They're winging it.
We're going to hope for the best. So,
all right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming by. If you like this content, please do hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications. We're at 522 subscribers. We would definitely love to be over 1,000 subscribers, and you can help us get there. That would definitely help support the channel. If you want to see more of the reviews of the products we've talked about here, head on over to www.criticalblast.com, where we will always have that information available. We're kind of excited this month because one of our favorite television shows is coming back after a very long hiatus, Mountain Monsters.
Okay.
The blank stare.
Blank stare on that one.
Blank stare of death.
Mountain Monsters.
Mountain Monsters.
Love that.
Right.
Mountain Monsters. Okay. Picture a bunch of good old boy rednecks who are expert trappers and hunters
Bigfoot.
looking for Bigfoot.
Is this a reality show?
And finding him every single
Been on for
time.
like 5 years.
I'm a big Bigfoot dude, and I don't
Me
know
too.
anything about this.
I love Bigfoot.
They find Bigfoot every time, but he always breaks out of the traps.
So you never really see
You never
Bigfoot.
really see him.
Of course.
No,
okay.
of course not.
Okay, Mountain Monsters. Wow.
Mountain Monsters.
Travel Channel.
Travel Channel. Okay.
Now, they did something this last season. The first 2 seasons were always, we're going here, we're going there, we're after the Grassman of Ohio, we're after the Howler. This last season, they did this sort of 12-issue maxi series of a season where it was continuous from episode to episode, looking for the woman of the woods and the little girl, and all of a sudden all the Bigfoots were coming together for this Bigfoot convention of some sort. I don't know what it was, but it didn't go quite over as well with the fans, and I think that's one of the reasons why they stayed off of it for so long.
It's more acting than it is reality.
It became that way.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping they're going to wrap up whatever it was they're doing with
It's like Appalachian Outlaws.
exactly
love
like
that show.
So do I, but you know
want in
it's
here? You
fake
wanna have
as
some
can
of
be.
this?
You know it's fake as can be.
We have the same taste in TV, Dave.
My wife goes, "Why are you watching that?" And I'm like,
Why not?
"How can you watch this?" I go, "Just because of the absurdity of this whole thing."
But you know what? Every time we cover mountain monsters, the spike in traffic just goes crazy because there are so many fans out there, and of course, we definitely want to bring the fans what they want to
Send
see.
him the link.
So we have an interview
Good to
coming
see.
up on the 20th.
Really?
With Colt Straub, who is the executive producer of Mountain Monsters.
Cool.
That will go up on our podcast, which is not the video. We actually have an audio podcast. If you want to hit out there and hit on iTunes and look up Critical Blast, you'll find some of our audio interviews, such as the one we had with Lou Scheimer, which is, it gives me every time I think about that.
Motu.
We're going to have more of those up there as soon as I can. I have cassette tapes that I'm trying to get converted to digital so that I can turn them into these things.
Right.
I have a cassette tape interview that I wrote it up, but really you can only enjoy it by listening to it.
Right.
Because it's with Thurl Ravenscroft.
Okay.
And Thurl Ravenscroft?
Yeah.
Voice of Tony the Tiger.
Tony
You
the Tiger,
can't you can't type an interview with Tony the Tiger. You've got to hear it.
Got to hear it, right.
So-
It's great.
So we'll have that converted as soon as we can. Throw that up on the podcast.
And for you people who didn't know who Lou was when he got all choked up here, is Lou did Masters of Filmation, owner of Filmation Studios, did Masters of the Universe, of course.
Still, Fat Albert, the
Fat
Cosby
Albert
Kids,
and Cosby Kids,
Star Trek.
Star Trek, Planet of the Apes, the list goes on. Flash Gordon, list goes on and
Ghostbusters.
on. Ghostbusters,
The
yeah.
real Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
That's one of the things we talked about, Lou.
And did the live action.
Yeah.
Like Shazam and ISIS. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So all those anything that was Saturday morning for us old folks, that it was
He was in on it. Yeah, he
the Tarzan, Batman and Tarzan,
Love that.
Animated. Man, see, already got me thinking on it. So
well,
it was a great book that came out on it too.
was that Andy Mangels?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they were doing the book when I was talking to him. And I was like, has anybody written these down? He's like, I've got a guy who wants to,
It's a great
write
book.
memoirs, but I don't know what I got stories like.
Brought it in, sold it immediately, and I've been trying to get another copy. So
He had so many cool stories. One of the things he told me that he said he hadn't told anybody else. And he said, well, maybe I do have some stories to tell. Once they got the license for Ghostbusters, because he had to work out something with Columbia, because Columbia was thinking, well, yeah, but you did a cartoon, we're doing live action. He's like, oh no, Forrest Tucker, Larry Storch, and the Gorilla. So he said they had to work out a deal with Columbia where they'd get part of the money. And funny thing was that Ghostbusters didn't make any money, so he never got any checks. Funny accounting that went on there. It's hard to believe Ghostbusters made no money.
Yeah, I doubt that.
Go figure.
It was
But
the number one rated animated show at one point.
yeah. So he said one of the things that broke his heart was when they did the real Ghostbusters, the Filmation's Ghostbusters, the animated series, and they still had Tracy the gorilla in it.
Yeah.
Somebody was very, very, very upset that they had Tracy the gorilla because they thought that he was adapting the movie to cartoons and had converted Winston's character into a gorilla and thought that it was a racist move. And he tried to explain to them that no, if you go back to the original Ghostbusters, it was Bob Burns in a gorilla suit running around the same brick walls that they used in all 7 or 10 episodes of Ghostbusters. But he was kind of heartbroken that somebody would think that he would do that. Had a lot of good stories, great stories. We got to get that up on a podcast.
Yeah.
I've got to convert that.
I just recently got the real Ghostbusters on DVD.
DVD?
Yeah.
It's one of those things, I got to warn you, if you're going to sit down and watch it, it's better in your head.
Yeah, I know.
But that's the way nostalgia is. Nostalgia is always better in your
It's the
head.
way all cartoons are. Yeah, it's sometimes, somebody, they come in and talk all the time to me about stuff, and they're like, Wonder Woman was such a great show, and really when you put on Wonder Woman today, you're like, oh boy, this is cheesy.
Yeah. Oh, the Incredible Hulk was the same way.
Yeah.
Like we sat down and we watched 45 minutes of melodrama to get 5 minutes of Lou Ferrigno throwing something.
Right.
And that's just call me in for the last 10 minutes, Mom. I'm going to see the Hulk.
Yeah. So that's true.
But you know what? I still find though that I enjoy the Filmation stuff if I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah, I watched Defenders of the Universe. That was Filmation.
Yeah, the Flash Gordon and
Flash
Mandrake.
Gordon and Mandrake. Yeah, and That's on Netflix. No, not Netflix. It's on Prime, and I put that on. I love it.
Another one that he did that I hadn't seen when it was out before, so it was on Brave Star.
Yeah, yeah. That was a little after my time, because once
later.
we started getting into the 80s, and I was, getting out of, I was in my senior year of high school. Of course, none of that stuff was cool.
We could bring up that podcast sometime and just dissect it. You and I could probably sit down and do an
that'd be great.
entire video podcast on Filmation history.
Would totally love that. That'd be awesome.
Let's put some bullet points together. We will make that. September will be our Filmation tribute. So if you're
Sounds
a fan
good.
of Filmation, come here then. We'll have everything up we can
Let's
show.
talk about it all. That's cool.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming today. Again, if you want to leave some comments, let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. We're still shaping
Let
things
him
up
know.
here.
Not me.
Yeah. Put the weight on me, Sally. There you go. Anyway, if you want to reach out to us, podcast@criticalblast.com will be a good email address for you to drop notes off at. If you don't want to leave comments in the video, because you're chicken, you don't want people to see what you say. But no, it's a good private way of communicating. Also, DM us at Critical Blast on Twitter. Peace out, folks.